We're back with another edition of low carb fast food, and today we're taking on the Colonel and making some Kentucky Fried Chicken. I hope you guys are as excited as I am because this recipe came out so good. We've got crispy fried chicken tossed with 11 herbs and spices and breaded with protein powder. That's right, we're breading our chicken with protein powder. You are not gonna wanna miss this one. This is Coach Sean's Kitchen. If you like watching these episodes and learning delicious recipes that fit into your low carb lifestyle, please hit that subscribe button so you can be notified every time I come out with a new video. So to kick off our no flour fried chicken, we're gonna begin with a buttermilk soak. This is gonna help our chicken remain tender and moist while it cooks. I don't buy buttermilk, I think it's a waste of money because I can make it really easily at home. All buttermilk is milk and an acid. I'll let it sit on my counter for 5 minutes and you'll actually see it begin to curdle. Once the buttermilk is made, I'm gonna add it to our chicken. Today, I've got a whole pack of chicken drumsticks because that's the only thing I could find at the store. Now this chicken doesn't need to soak for a long time. You can do 30 minutes or up to 6 hours for your marinade. While our chicken is marinating, let's go ahead and make some mashed potatoes. Because after all, it wouldn't be KFC without some mashed taters. Today, I'm gonna be making some cauliflower mashed potatoes, and I'm even gonna go as far to say that I enjoy this more than traditional mashed potatoes. Every time I eat mashed potatoes, either I don't eat enough because my macros don't allow it, or I eat way too many and all of those starchy carbs just make me feel so lethargic and tired for the rest of the day. This mashed cauliflower recipe is light, delicious, and filling. I'll begin by roughly chopping up 1 head of cauliflower. Once that's done, I'm gonna add my cauliflower to a pot of salted boiling water, and I'm gonna cook it for about 10 to 15 minutes. While that's going, I'm gonna mince up a few cloves of garlic. Garlic has to be my favorite addition for mashed potatoes. So once our cauliflower is fork tender, I'm gonna drain it and set it aside. Then into that pan, I'm gonna toss in some butter along with that minced garlic. And I'm only gonna cook it for about 1 to 2 minutes until it's fragrant, but that garlic doesn't begin to brown. Then I'm gonna add my cauliflower back into this pan and I'm gonna begin mashing it. Now personally, I like a rustic style mashed potatoes, something with a little bit more texture, so a potato masher works just fine for me. Once I've got it to the consistency I like, I'm gonna add in some freshly grated Pecorino Romano cheese, along with some sour cream and some white pepper. As you can see, this has the texture and appearance of mashed potatoes and tastes just as good, if not better. And the best part, it's incredibly low carb. So now that our low carb mashed potatoes are done, let's turn our attention back to our keto fried chicken. I'm gonna remove the chicken from that buttermilk and put it on a rack over some paper towels so that it can thoroughly drain before we begin seasoning and breading. While the chicken's drying, let's turn our attention to that breading mixture, beginning with our herbs and spices. Into a coffee grinder, I'm going to add salt, thyme, basil, oregano, celery salt, mustard powder, smoked paprika, garlic salt, white pepper, ground ginger, and freshly ground black pepper. And if you count them, yes, that is 11 herbs and spices. So before I bread this chicken, I like to give it a light dusting of our herbs and spices mixture directly on the meat of the chicken. That way, if any of the breading slides off, I still have a well-seasoned piece of chicken underneath. Let's go ahead and create our breading mixture. So I'm gonna use equal parts almond flour and unflavored protein powder. I know, this one took me by surprise too, and I had to try it to believe it. But this protein powder trick makes the chicken so incredibly crispy. In addition to that, I'm gonna add some more of our 11 herbs and spices mixture. Then I'll take our chicken and I'm gonna roll it until it's thoroughly coated. Chicken is notorious for all of its nooks and crannies, so make sure you're really moving it around to ensure that you have even coverage around the entire outside of the chicken. As you can see, this recipe is already shaping up to look exactly like Kentucky Fried Chicken. So once all of our chicken pieces are thoroughly coated in that breading mixture, I'm gonna let it rest on that rack to give it some time for that coating to set up. If there's one thing I don't mess around with in the kitchen, it's safety, albeit food or deep frying safety. So before I put any heat to my oil, I'm going to ensure that everything is ready to go. My chicken is ready to be placed in my frying oil. My oil is in a sturdy, level frying pan. I've got all the utensils out I could possibly need, as well as a wire rack over a tray. And finally, I like to have the only unitasker allowed in my kitchen standing by. Once everything's good to go, I'm gonna begin heating up my oil, and then I'm not gonna move from 6 feet from this fry pan. This is my home for the next 20 minutes. I'm looking for my oil to hit around 350 degrees. That means as long as it's between 325 and 375, I'm good and I'm not gonna mess with my temperature. Then I began adding my chicken. Always be mindful when you're laying something in a hot pan of oil that you're laying the food away from you to prevent any splatters of that hot oil from getting on you or your counter. Once my chicken is in the pan, I'm not gonna touch it for 6 to 8 minutes. Since we're doing a combination of deep frying and pan frying, that chicken is going to initially stick to the bottom of your pan, and that's okay. What I don't want you to do is go around poking and touching it during the first 6 to 8 minutes. Allow that coating to cook, to adhere to the chicken, and when it's done, it will naturally release from the bottom of your pan. Once 8 minutes has elapsed, I'm gonna go ahead and flip over my chicken, and you can see that we have a gorgeous, crispy exterior to our chicken. My favorite part about doing this combination pan fry, deep fry is that the chicken touches the bottom of the pan, which means I get these really dark, ultra crispy portions of my fried chicken that is easily my favorite part. You can see that this fried chicken has a great appearance. It's hard to believe that there's no flour on the outside of this chicken. At this point, I'm going to assume it's gonna take another 6 to 8 minutes for my chicken to cook, but I'm going by temperature. So I'm gonna start temping my chicken, and once it hits above 170, I'm gonna begin pulling it. I like to cook my fried chicken, especially the dark meat, a little higher than I would traditionally cook something like a chicken breast. It's not gonna dry out, and I find that the extra degrees lend to a more tender fried chicken. Then I'm gonna evacuate the chicken to a wire rack to drain. Looking at this fried chicken, it's hard to believe that no flour went into the coating. We have a great color, it's so crispy, and my house is filled with a wonderful aroma of 11 herbs and spices. So to plate it up, I'm gonna put a nice mound of that mashed cauliflower down, and I'm gonna garnish it with some chives and a little drizzle of extra virgin olive oil. Then I'm gonna take 2 of my chicken drumsticks and I'm gonna lay them over the top. You can begin to see why I prefer this fried chicken recipe over KFC. As far as how it came out, freaking perfect. I feel there's so many recipes out there that say it's low carb and you can't tell the difference and they're lying. This one is just as, if not better, than KFC. If you enjoyed this episode of Low Carb Fast Food, please hit that like button and make sure you subscribe so you get notified the next time I come out with another episode of Coach Sean's Kitchen. Thank you guys for tuning in, and just remember, we can do anything homemade and healthy.